It's Six Towns Radio. I'm down at the North Stafford Hotel in Stoke. I'm joined by Pete Best. Hello there, you okay?
I'm fine, thanks. Yeah, and yourself?
I'm not bad at all. The sun is shining again. I don't know how long for, but it's going to be a good day because you're here. Well, you tell us why you're here tonight.
Well, it's for the Bobby Moore appeal. It's a big charity night. It's, as far as I know, this has been in our calendar for about 12 months, so we've been really looking forward to it. It's a special occasion. We all appreciated Bobby's input. What a great footballer he was. Sad loss to everyone, and we were asked. We had the date available, and it was just wonderful that we can do it. So it's a case of, everyone that's here, let's have some fun. Let's make it a fun night. That's what it's all about.
Yeah, you're a Liverpool lad, obviously a big football fan.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I'm of the other ilk, I wear the blue shirt, but still a football fan. Yeah.
Looking around the room, there's some amazing images from back in the late 50s and 60s, because of course you were the original drummer in the Beatles. Just looking around some of these pictures, and you set up on stage. Is this your drum kit here?
No, that's mine.
That's one George. Yeah.
One of them anyway. the one we're using tonight. Yeah, brother and myself have got about 4 kits each, so we're sponsored by Slingerland, so we've got to use a little bit of their stuff tonight. Show willing.
Let's talk about the Casbah Club, because that's where it all started off. It was a club which was below your house, run by your mother. Yeah. Not everyone had a club under the house in Liverpool, I'm sure.
No, it wasn't one of those things, but it was the brainchild of my mother Mona, actually. We had cellars beneath our house in Hayman's Green, and she saw a programme on the television which was about the Two Eyes Coffee Club. And unbeknownst to ourselves, she just turned around and said, that's what we're going to do with the cellars. And we thought, fine. Initially, I thought, going to be a den for me and my mates. We go down and play our records and play the guitars and all the other bits and pieces. But she turned around and said, no, it's going to be, as she turned around and said, a very exclusive coffee club.
Mm-hmm. And it housed a couple hundred people, didn't it? Yeah,
it does. The amazing thing was, the way she decorated it, it's totally different from any other club that has been there. But the beauty of it is, the guys that opened the club, the Quarrymen, the members were John, George, Paul and Ken Brown, they helped decorate the place as well. And even today, it's back on the tourist trail now, the Casbah,
It's got heritage status, hasn't it? Yeah.
It is, yeah. British Heritage gave us a blue plaque, so it's a Grade 2 listed building now, piece of history, musical history.
Still got that decoration in there.
It has. We've got the Aztec ceiling that Lennon did, after a couple of clouts from my mum, putting the wrong paint on there. The rainbow ceiling that Macca did, or Sir Paul, I should call him. And then there's other bits and pieces. George, you did the salmon ceiling, the spider's web, which I did. John Lennon over the fireplace in the coffee bar, which my mother commissioned Cynthia to do. The stars in the coffee bar are done by John, George, Paul, and Ensemble. So it's all still there, so when people go in, they don't believe that this relic, which hasn't changed since 1959, is still there, and all the stuff which the lads were involved with, the decorating and the paintings they did, are all still on the walls, and they're like, like John Carmen's tomb,
And John didn't wear his glasses at the time, did he? He was quite a short side.
I think he wore them for a bit, and they got that much speckled paint on him, as per usual. He took them off, that was it.
Yeah. Can you remember that very first meeting between you and John and Paul?
Yeah, the funny thing was, the first guy I met out of all of them was George, because he played for the Les Stewart Quartet.
Yeah.
And when the Les Stewart Quartet went down the pan and they didn't open the club like they should have done, George came down and he said, I happen to know a couple of guys called, well, he didn't call them then, a couple of guys who aren't doing anything. And my mother turned around and said, bring them down. And that was the first time I met them, and they turned out to be John Lennon and Paul McCartney. And it was, like all of them, like the cut of them, but there was something about John right from the word go. I think most probably his rocker style, his baseball boots and his KDs, as we used to call them then, and his cord jacket and his sideburns. And I was like, yeah, I like him. He's good. He's a rocker.
You just needed something about him.
Yeah, which there was about all of them, but I got to know him through decorating the club, and then of course they opened the Casbah. And the rest is history, as we say.
And you made a band, and you went and spent a hedonistic time in Hamburg, didn't you?
That's one way of putting it, yeah. That's one way. Yeah, we called it a learning curve. Yeah, culture shock, which we turned into a learning curve. That was it.
And you got kicked out in the end for a bit of arson.
Yeah, arson around, yeah. It was... we'd defected. I mean, that's I suppose the fun way of putting it, to the top 10 club. We'd had a better offer there, and Tony Sheridan was there, God bless him. And Peter Eklund, the manager of the top 10 club, turned around and said, "Will you play the top 10 club? Contributing factor, better club, going to pay us more money." We said, "Of course we will." Then we went back and told Bruno Koschmieder, who was the manager of the Kaiser Keller, who we were playing. And as soon as we told him, he turned around and said, if you play the top 10 club, you never play Germany again. To which we went, "Oh, behave yourself, you can't do that to us, we're the Beatles." And then funny things happened. George got sent home for being underage. Paul and I, belongings were still in the back of the Bambikino, so we went back to get our stuff. As we've said for many, many years, there was no lights or electricity where we were staying anyway. We stuck some condoms on the wall, lit fire to them. The splitter gave us enough light to throw our bits together. And we came back and we played innocently at the top 10 club, went to bed like you normally did. And the next morning we were woken up by, as we found out later, 2 German policemen, right, who escorted us very unceremoniously down to the Davidstrasse police station. And we got told that we'd been charged with trying to burn the Bambikino down. And,
burning rubber.
Yeah, burning rubbers, yeah. Do not try it, for goodness sake.
But you were young lads who went to Germany, and obviously you were strangers in a strange place, and it didn't take you long to sort of become well known and notorious in the area, and everyone knew who you were. Yeah,
I think that was the ilk that we were. I mean, we were strange. It was, we didn't realise at the time that it was St. Pauli, red light district of the world. We didn't realise that we were going to be playing 6-7 hours a night. All of those things were like a challenge to us, and that we always rose to a challenge. And it was very much a case of, fine, if that's what we got to do, we got to do it. And we knew that there was a great band on up the road, at the Kaiser Keller, Derry and the Seniors, and we knew that we had to put on a great show. And over the couple of weeks, we nurtured ourselves. The long hours we were playing turned us into, from a mediocre rock and roll band into this great rock and roll band, which came back to Liverpool, took Liverpool by storm, and then went on to conquer the world.
Yeah, and it's documented in the film Backbeat, isn't it?
Very much so, yeah.
Is that quite spot on with its narrative?
No, it's like everything else. They've taken artistic license. If you look at it, I've always turned around and said the soundtrack is absolutely brilliant. I think that captures the savageness which we were playing with in those days.
Yeah.
But it's at the end of the day, American expression, it's a movie. They've taken artistic license with it. You swallow that and you say around and say, okay, we know where we're coming from. A few things are wrong, but at the end of the day, it's entertainment.
Yeah.
Yeah. They've got the story. Publicity turned around and said it's story of the 5 lads in Hamburg. It wasn't. The more you looked at it, it was the love story of Stu and Astrid Kirche.
Yeah.
We just happened to be in the background. That was it.
I was going to say it was more about Stuart Sutcliffe, wasn't it?
Yeah, very much so. But for entertainment value, 100%.
Yeah, and then obviously you came back, and the famous line is Brian Epstein took you into the room and said you're no longer wanted. Can you remember that exact conversation? Yeah. I mean, I think that's ingrained in my memory. It was pretty short. Swift, to be quite honest. Was he nervous? Or?
Yeah, he was. He wasn't his cool, calm, placid self. I'd been to business meetings with him before because I'd handled business side of things. And when I went in, I just expected it to be another business meeting. And when I walked in, he was edgy, a little bit flustered, talked around the subject for a while, and then he basically, turned around and said, "Don't really know how to turn around and tell you this, Pete, but the boys want you out. And it's already," and I think that was the key word, already been arranged that Ringo would join the band on Saturday. And this, I think, was Wednesday or Thursday. That was the bombshell. I mean, wasn't expecting it. So all I could basically scramble out of my brain was like, well, what's the reason? And the reason which he gave at that time was that, they felt Ringo was a better drummer. And that's always been a debatable question. To me it didn't make sense, because I was, one of the top drummers in Liverpool at that time. But when you're slammed with something like that, then you're not expecting it, you accept it, and it's only when I got outside the NEMS that I suppose the reality of the situation hit me. And it was only when I got back home again, and, told my mother that, I broke down. It was very much a case of, my God, what's happened, Knew these guys for 3 years, played with them for 2. We're on the verge of international stardom. We all knew that break was coming. And, I'm in the apple cart.
On the bombshell, yeah.
There you go.
And then you've got a girlfriend at the time, and you've got to get your life back together. So you got a job. That's what everyone would do.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. People think, or a lot of people think that once it happened, in '62, Pete packed up. I didn't, Pete stayed in show business until '68. I had my own band, John Lee Curtis and the All Stars, recording in America, did a lot of things. But '68, by this time I was married, one of 2 beautiful daughters. And as I've always turned around and said, if it had been a single guy, no responsibilities, would have continued. Okay. Yeah. They were growing up, I had to provide security for them, so after many sleepless nights I made the decision I'm going to quit show business. And I thought it would be easy to get a job because I had the educational qualifications, and it turned out it was a bit of a nightmare, because every interview I went to, they turned around and said, got the educational qualifications, Pete, and what have you done for the last 8 years or 5 years since you left school? And I was like, been in a rock band. Oh. Yes, okay, we'll let you know. Yeah. So that went on, and then the end I turned around and said, no one's going to believe me. Everyone is of the opinion that, someone's going to come along, dangle a big golden carrot in front of me, and Pete's going to be off on the road again. And I turned around and said, I'm going to have to prove it. Lifeline came, I had an offer to work in a bakery as a labourer. And I just turned around and said, I'll take it.
Yeah.
Right, shift work, bracking bread, you name it, I'll do it. Right? And I held that down for about 12 months, but that 12 months proved to people that I'd turned over a new leaf, so to speak. So when I reapplied, when the civil service offered me a job, I'd already done my time in the trenches and proved that, okay, yeah, I was stable again.
Yeah.
Till 1988.
Yeah, and I can remember, because you said you finished in '68 in show business. It's probably about 1982. You were in America and you were on Letterman talking about the break, and and then I suppose your career kick-started again. Well, it was a lot of people think that I wouldn't talk to the public because of what had happened, and it was a load of BS. That, to be quite honest. If it had been asked, I would have talked, because I had a story to tell, and it wasn't getting told. So if people wanted to know my side of it or a little bit of history, then fine. I never got asked, and then I started getting myself involved in different little projects, or people approached me, and I said, yeah, why not? The project that I was involved in America was involved with the record over there, and of course went on the Letterman show. And then things started to kick over, I brought a book out, and then, 88 I did a one-off concert in Liverpool, which I thought was going to be a one-off concert. My mother and my wife were there, along with the rest of the family, and we'd turned around and said, no, it's going to be a one-off. For many years people in Liverpool have been after me to play Beatles conventions and show the public what I'd been, And I said, always managed to duck out of it, right? But this year I couldn't. 88, I was up against the wall, and I turned around and said, fine, okay, I give in. You've won, I'll do it, but I'll do it under my own terms. Yeah. And I got my younger brother Rogue to play drums with me, and of course that was great for my mum, who was still alive at that time, because she could see the elder brother and the younger, eldest son and youngest son on stage at the same time. And asked some of my old mates, Billy Kinsey from Liverpool Express and Mersey Beats, Kenny Parry, Dave Goldie. I said, just want to get up, don't want to play Beatles stuff, I just want to play good old rock and roll. Yeah. And he said,
great. And we did it, and I went down absolutely fantastic. And my mother turned around and said, "You don't know it, but you're going to be going back into show business." To which I laughed, because I had no intention of. But my God, how right she was, because here I am.
And here you are, and you've got the All-Stars band now. You tour for probably half the year, so you still enjoy doing it, which is brilliant.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's people turn around and said, "How long are you going to do it for?" It's like, how long's a piece of string? Maybe one morning I'll wake up and go, fine, that's it. As of yet, no, because I've got a great band. We tour well, we play well together, we play well off stage together. We're a good unit. This lineup's been together about 8 years now, and we have fun. We're a fun band on stage, we're a fun band off stage. Keeps the adrenaline flowing.
Well, you seem happy with how your life has ended up and how you're doing this now. No regrets?
No, far from it. I mean, most probably people would turn around and saying 62, yeah. I mean, at that time it was most probably the hardest thing that could have happened to me. But as I've turned around and said, I'm a firm believer in karma. Yeah. Maybe it's, mother's influence, family influence, whole family believes in karma. Maybe my tapestry turned around and said, you're not going to be part of it, but you're going to have a great life. Yeah. I thank you for that. Yeah, and you didn't end up being the voice of Thomas the Tank Engine. Not yet. Well, you can get you online. Can you tell us what the web address is for your it's
website?
PeteBest.com. If they want to get me on Facebook, it's Pete Best Official. Yeah. And if they want to do a little tweet with me, it's Original Pete Best. Yes, well, that's how I got to you on Twitter. It's nice to see you embracing social media. I just want to thank you for doing this interview, and good luck tonight in Stoke. We're looking forward to it, and thanks to you for the interview. Okay.